Kurt Cobain write the theme song for Ren and Stimpy?
Did Stevie Nicks resort to having cocaine administered rectally after suffering a deviated septum?
Hey everybody, this is Big Randy with the Smarts Project. I've provided security and transportation for some of the biggest names in the music industry.
I'm John. I've been a musician for over 20 years, playing everything from metal and punk to bluegrass and country.
We're bringing you a podcast about some of the weirdest myths and legends that the music industry has to offer. This is Tall Tales and Music Mythology. Hey everybody, this is Big Randy with the Smarts Project. Welcome to the podcast. And now he's your rolling man. He's got all the love you need, Mr. Jonathan Clough.
Hello, everybody.
And joining us in the studio today is one of my oldest and dearest friends. My kids call him Uncle Rod. I call him Rod T. How are you, brother? It's an audio podcast. You can't wave.
He doesn't have a microphone, though. I'm not going to hear him too clearly.
Doing really good. Thank you so much.
there we go. I
think this is the Muppets. I'm going to voice you or something.
Use the studio space.
Right? Jeez, man. So really the only update that I got for Smarts is I wanted to remind everybody that we're raffling off the guitars signed by Vince Gill on November 1st. And should be ordering the tickets probably in the next couple of days, and we'll have that available pretty much everything I can think of, like social media, on the website.
Sweet.
Probably a good idea if I got a hold of Brandon, our IT guy. Yeah, just so we're all
talk to him about that.
Hopefully that'll come up in conversation real soon. So anyway, in the music news, I got two little ones. Just because of one, it's not really news, but I thought it was really cool. The will of late Linkin Park frontman Chester Bennington requested for his children to remain in contact with each other. The will reportedly reads, quote, "I request that my children's mothers or guardians encourage and allow my children to visit with one another and with my extended family and the extended family of my spouse on a regular and ongoing basis so that my children know that they have a large and loving family," unquote. And I thought that was really cool that,
yeah.
There's no negative shit after,
right.
I as somebody that went through a nasty divorce, with kids, that's a pretty cool thing. So, in the news, you'll probably be able to appreciate this. Marilyn Manson is set to cover Johnny Cash for the 24 Hours to Live movie soundtrack. Have you heard it?
No, I have not.
Wow. God's Gonna Cut You Down by Cash is set to be given the Manson treatment for the upcoming film starring Ethan Hawke and Liam Cunningham.
I haven't heard of the movie or the plans for that.
I'll be darned.
Yeah, neither one.
Yet again, another thing, a little part of my heart just heals up every time I say something that you've never heard of. The cover was previously teased by Manson at a show in Moscow earlier this year where he played it over the stereo system at a gig. And there's actually a video of that.
Oh, he played his cover of it.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So it is already finished.
So
gotcha.
Johnny Cash's God's Gonna Cut You Down is actually a cover itself. Mm-hmm. The traditional folk song has ambiguous origins and has been performed by Odetta, Elvis Presley, Moby, and a version by Cash is the most widely recognized. Mm-hmm. I was doing research today, and this is totally off script. I'm just freeballing here. I did not know, as much as I love glam rock and 80s rock and pretty much everything that encompasses the shit that you hate in life.
Hey, I like glam rock. It's not hair metal.
I did not know that Come On Feel the Noise was a cover.
I can't think of who sang it originally.
Slade.
Oh,
they
okay.
released it.
Okay.
They released it in '73, and then Quiet Riot did it in '83.
Okay.
Gotcha. I had no idea.
I couldn't have told you who it was. I knew it was a cover, but I didn't know that until fairly recently.
Oh, is that right? In fact, I was so shocked by it. I was like, I should do that story.
I want to say it came up around the time. I think it was one of the Grand Theft Auto games came out and put it on the soundtrack.
The Quiet Riot version?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, and that's what kind of brought that topic back up in the media or whatever. So
that was a little shocker. I mean, not to Not that I kid myself thinking that I know everything there is to know about glam rock, but you find out something about your generation that you didn't even know.
Oh yeah.
So in 1990, before Kurt Cobain hit it big with Nirvana, he was a struggling, starving musician. By the way, have you heard this one?
No, I haven't. And I was, as you were telling the synopsis there at the beginning, I was going through the Ren and Stimpy theme song in my head, trying to figure out if that was like feasible.
Right. Because
Kurt Cobain has done the film score for a movie before, but I can't think of what the name of it was.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So that's why I was like, well, that's not totally
out of the question.
Yeah, because of that. But there's nothing in the theme song there that sounds like something Kurt Cobain would write.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think, at least. But
No, not the current one. But
okay.
It's rumored Kurt showed up at the Los Angeles offices of Spoomco. Am I saying that right?
I don't know.
Oh, Spoomco, the animation company behind Ren and Stimpy.
How's that spelled?
It's SPU with the umlaut over it, MC, then O with a slash on it, like Norwegian.
No, I have not heard that before.
And offered the theme song he had written. The TV bosses, said, yeah, that's great, and they threw it in the wastebasket. This, according to Billy West, the voice actor for the show.
Oh, gotcha.
Billy West is the man.
Yeah, because he also did the voice of Doug.
Dude, he's done everything.
On Nickelodeon, specifically at that same time.
The story goes that Cobain recorded the song on the cheap, but felt proud of it. But after Nirvana had become famous with their 1991 album Nevermind, the executives realized the decision was a disastrous mistake. No copies of the alleged song have been released, and as such, the song's existence has not been confirmed. Even if copies of the song still exist, assuming it ever did in the first place, it is said that the version Nickelodeon had were trashed, making it unlikely that any of the executives hold a copy. Cobain's estate has not publicly commented on the matter, which I don't know if that's...
I will neither confirm nor deny these rumors.
Yeah, but, the way that I look at it, like Billy West, I mean, he's a very respected voice actor.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Fry from Futurama.
Right. And a good thing you could say about him doing that interview, at least as far as this story is concerned, is that nobody's came out and said, well, that's a lie.
That's, okay, gotcha.
But as a negative, nobody's came out and said, yeah, that's true, So the rumor came about from an interview Ren and Stimpy voice actor Billy West did with NME. What is it? New Music
Express.
Yeah, for the muggles out there. At this point, no one has verified this information, but nobody has denied it either. And at this point, Billy West was the only person that was telling the story. I checked on some dates. This might get confusing because it doesn't take a whole lot to confuse me, and that's why I had to write it down. Ren and Stimpy debuted in August 1991, but obviously there would have been a production schedule that would have been completed at least a couple of months prior to this. So they would have, like, the production schedule for cartoons are different than, like, for music.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Back during that time...
they're still drawing everything hand by hand. They had to have each individual cell that they have to animate.
Yeah, but I mean, I get into it with, like, the Nevermind album, but, like, they stopped recording, I want to say it was, like, May 29th. They were released in September.
Right.
So that's a good amount of time, but like with cartoons, it's so much less. So it's like 30 to 60 days, it's not very much at all. But anyway, so they would have had to keep up with the production schedule that would have been completed at least a couple of months prior to the cartoon's release. Yeah. So if Kurt Cobain did record the theme song, it could have been completed as late as June 1991. Nevermind wasn't released until September 24th, 1991. The last day of recording on the album was on May 19th. I'm sorry, I thought it was 29th, but May 19th. Yeah, screw it. 1991.
Yeah.
So in this timeline, it could have been possible for it to happen. He could have written it in May or June of 1991 to earn a few bucks to hold him over until the album dropped. But
no, they usually get an advance. Once you get a major label contract, you're going to get an advance.
On that particular one, they didn't know
because
that was that was their second album, and the first one,
Bleach.
Yeah, Bleach really didn't go over as well, but they didn't think that Nevermind was going to be that big a deal.
No one could have.
Nobody foresaw any fraction of what it turned into be.
Yeah, because Bleach eventually became kind of a cult favorite. I don't want to say that.
Yeah,
but,
underground favorite.
Yeah, like as Nirvana got more popular, but yeah, that's
because I've even read speculations like, would Nirvana be what Nirvana is now if Kurt Cobain didn't commit suicide?
right, and that's
I think it would have been a big deal, but I don't think it would have been as earth shattering and this was an event that changed rock forever, type of thing.
Yeah,
not taking anything away from it, but
I don't know. I mean, there was a big change in the early '90s, going from the hair metal and the slick synth pop of the '80s to grunge.
Well, I mean, just like everything else in life, it's a pendulum, so they go from that, Devo, Men Without Hats sound to grunge.
Things go through trends, really.
Yeah,
quickly.
absolutely. So Smells Like Teen Spirit was released 2 weeks later on September 10th, 1991 as the lead single, but this is also where the hard documented facts end and the speculation begins. Nickelodeon was owned by Viacom, who also owned MTV and VH1.
Right.
And which is funny because back in the day, I thought they were at war with each other. I thought those are two completely different entities.
No,
yeah.
See, I once I saw the Viacom logo at the end of each show, I was like, oh, wait a second. And I started putting that together with Nickelodeon, too, and Comedy Central.
I'm already changing channels by that time. Like, this is Kurt Loder. Thank you for click. I'm out. I'm looking for something else, So it's possible there was a person from MTV or VH1 that got Kurt Cobain in the Nickelodeon doors to pitch the song. And, okay, like my buddy Adam would say, hypoallergenically speaking, if that did happen, it's not such a big deal that would happen, that somebody with Viacom, MTV, or VH1 would get him in the doors. That shit like that happens every day. Okay, that's every Monday through Friday in the music industry. That shit happens, somewhere. The fact that we haven't heard about it, that's not quite as rare, but it's still not that big a deal.
True.
With all that being said, in my humble opinion, being an old dude. By the way, did you know that I'm a day older than Kurt Cobain?
Huh. Really?
He was born the day after I was born. Not like of another year.
No. I know what
the
you mean.
year.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, like within 24 hours after I was born. He is such a young pup. So, in my humble opinion, I feel it might be the Happy Guitar. Do you remember that?
Happy Guitar. Oh.
The Black and White Blues.
Gotcha.
You would probably know it better than me. I actually had to do some. I went through and I listened to like not the entire track of every song, Nirvana song, but a good part of it, maybe like half the song or a third of the song.
Yeah.
And whenever I got to that one, I was like, that's really different than everything else that's on any Nirvana album.
What album is it on?
Damn it.
Is it on Incesticide? That's like the only album of theirs I haven't really listened to much.
Is it right? Is it on Incesticide?
Okay, gotcha. I listened to Bleach, Nevermind, and In Utero a lot, but I don't think I've ever listened to Incesticide.
If you listen to that, I'd be interested in what you think about it, because it's so detached. Dude, it's like a really shitty...
What, add that to my library right now.
But it's like a really shitty... you know what it sounds like? Like if you spent like 7.5 minutes trying to teach me how to play a song, and then you go, okay, fat ass, go home and play it now.
Kurt Cobain was a terrible guitarist.
Shut your face.
Even by his own admission.
No, really?
Literally, Kurt Cobain once said something to the effect of... It was when he was having his artist production model, the Jag Stang. It was a cross between a Fender Jaguar and a Fender Mustang.
Wait a minute, he was going to have his own line of guitars?
Yeah, I mean, it exists. I think they might still make it. But when he was talking about them one time, or maybe it was for the advertisement itself, he said something about, hey, basically, this is a great guitar, but his quote was, and I can barely play the things myself.
Oh, shit.
Because he was not a good guitarist. That's the thing. He was a good songwriter.
Sure.
But he was not a good guitarist.
Just because you're good at that one thing don't mean you're good at everything.
It's one of those cases where learning how to play a band's songs, you're like, oh, wait.
This is not what I thought.
No. And once you learn, like, it's funny. But
wow.
Obviously, I love Nirvana's music. I do.
Sure.
And I think Kurt Cobain was a great songwriter,
Right.
and I like to make that point, but he was not a good guitarist.
Right, that doesn't make him a good plumber.
No.
Yeah. So this song is an oddity as compared to every other song Nirvana has ever recorded, at least that, to my uninitiated ears. So last thing I got is to be clear, the Ren and Stimpy show theme song now is called Dog Pound Hop, and it's written and performed by some Spoomco employees under the name Die Screaming Lederhosens. And that has nothing to do with Kurt Cobain.
D.
Look, man, I barely know English. All right, pick on somebody your own size. So, just some a few fun little facts that I ran across is I'm going to assume that everybody in the world knows more about this shit than I do. So I left out like the descriptions like Nirvana frontman, and all that shit.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
Stinky Weasel Teach from Happy Happy Joy Joy was based on the actor folk singer Burl Ives, who that one I left in because no young folks is going to remember Burl Ives. By the way, he's a Mason. Did you know?
I did not know that.
Western
part.
Washington, yeah, Scottish Rite. Who old people like me will remember from things like Christmas, because he pretty much made up every damn Christmas song like whenever I was growing up. Nirvana immediately ended after the 1994 suicide of Kurt Cobain, which was the creative force of Nirvana. He had big shoes to fill, and arguably only Paul McCartney could handle the job. He performed with the rest of Nirvana. At that time was Dave Grohl, Chris Novoselic, and Pat Smear.
From the Germs.
I love Pat Smear,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
I would rather watch an interview with him than to watch him play, and I love watching him play. He just seems like the nicest guy ever.
I'm glad he's back with the Foo Fighters now. That's pretty cool.
Oh, is he? Oh, cool.
He has been for a couple of years now, I think, but yeah.
In December, does anybody else think that Chris Novoselic looks like Chevy Chase? It's not like Will. It's not like Will Ferrell and the drummer for
Chad Smith.
Yeah.
Chili Peppers.
It's not like that, but it's pretty damn close.
Yeah.
And both of them tall as hell too.
Yeah.
So anyway, he performed with the rest of Nirvana in December 2012 at the concert for Sandy Relief. The song was called "Cut Me Some Slack," a hard rock tune McCartney and Nirvana wrote together.
Really?
That was a really good. You should see that video.
I haven't seen that.
Look it up on the YouTube. It's really good.
I will.
Because Hot Lights on the set would bake cream of wheat, which used to be in slime and on Nickelodeon shows.
Oh, yeah.
Double Dare made its slime with applesauce. The rowdy crew, known for recreational drug use offset, called the slime GAC after the street name for heroin. Before that, of course, you guys know about drugs. Such a horrible influence on me. Before Nirvana, before Kurt Cobain fell for Courtney Love, he dated Toby Vale, drummer for Bikini Kill.
Really?
Oh,
well, that makes sense.
Wow, and that was just the intro into the fact I'm getting ready to say. Wow. I thought you knew that one.
No, Bikini Kill. Sorry, I can talk about them some other time.
No, tell me about it.
There was this underground all-female punk movement called Riot Girl, and it was always spelled GRRRL.
Oh, right.
And Bikini Kill,
remember that.
Bikini Kill was kind of the band that pioneered that whole scene. So, and that was kind of taking place around the same time Nirvana was at its peak.
Huh.
So, yeah.
Actually,
That's what makes that very interesting to me.
Something about music that I knew a little bit about anyway. So anyway, he dated her for a while in 1991, but she eventually lost interest in the troubled rocker and broke it off. One night, one of Vale's bandmates, Kathleen Hanna, was hanging out in Cobain's apartment,
She was
listening. Huh?
She was the singer for Bikini
Yeah.
Kill.
Listening to him lament about the breakup. At some point, she grabbed a can of spray paint whenever he went into the bathroom and scrawled the words, quote, "Kurt smells like Teen Spirit," unquote, on Cobain's wall. And he didn't understand that he didn't know what Teen Spirit was.
Oh, he didn't realize that?
So
Okay.
I didn't know, and I thought this was really interesting, but like he didn't know that Teen Spirit was a girl's underarm deodorant, and he just thought, oh my God, Teen Spirit, yeah, it's a revolution, blah blah blah, and like he fell into it, and then later on he found out that it was like a chick's underarm deodorant,
Right.
and so then that's whenever he wrote the song and about the hubris of having a revolution,
Right.
quote unquote. So he was kind of like making fun of himself, that he was going to start this revolution.
His music was really, really self-deprecating.
Yeah. August 11th, damn tooth sucking. Oh, I hate that shit.
I'll get one of those collars and just shock you every time you do it.
We'll
have right over here do the Cesar Milan thing. Each time you just pinch you on the neck.
August 11th, 1991 wasn't just the debut of Ren and Stimpy show. It was also the debut of first ever Nicktoons lineup, which also included Rugrats and Doug.
I remember that Sunday very fondly.
1991. I think I was like, 48? I don't know, something like. In 2009, Courtney Love announced plans to sue Guitar Hero publisher Activision. Did you hear about this?
Because by that point, I think the only song they would have used would have been Heart-Shaped Box.
Oh, that wasn't the issue.
Okay.
She allowed Cobain's image to be used as a playable character in Guitar Hero. She assumed that Cobain would be used only on Nirvana songs, but he wasn't. Result, Love became enraged when she saw YouTube videos of Guitar Hero gamers using Cobain to play undecidedly un-Cobain songs like Bon Jovi.
Or pretty much anything else on Guitar Hero for the most part. There were some good songs. But
the suit was settled quietly out of court. Which I don't know why. I mean, it sounds like everything was covered in the contract.
Yeah, that's kind of odd that loophole was somehow left in there, but whatever.
Well, you deal with crazy bitches. That's what you get. Kurt Cobain was known to lift melodies and admit to have done so. Did you know that?
Yeah, and it kind of goes along with the phrase, what is it, the best artists steal and the worst artists borrow. I forget what the exact
I've heard that. Yeah,
but
this one messed me up. This one messed me up. He frequently told reporters that the opening riff from Nirvana, "Smells Like Teen Spirit," was the slightly retuned reworking of the riff from Boston's "More Than a Feeling." Mm-hmm. I so did not know. And now I'm listening to it in my head, and I'm like, holy shit, it's really that, He'd even start playing Teen Spirit in concert before segueing into the More Than a Feeling by Boston.
That part I didn't know.
I didn't know. Of course, I lived in Seattle whenever we both lived in Seattle whenever that happened, and I never seen him in concert. Of course, just like everything else, whoever's from your area. I mean, how long was I in Virginia Beach? I never saw Pharrell in concert. Well, I mean, I've had him in the back of my car 7 times, so, I had a Burger King with him, so why would I go to a concert, go see him in concert, Cobain said that he knew Nirvana made it when Weird Al Yankovic asked to parody their hit "Smells Like Teen Spirit."
Yeah, they were really excited about that.
Yeah, I heard that like a long time ago.
There's an interview with Chris saying that.
Do you remember what news outlet reported Cobain's death in April of 1994?
MTV News.
Yeah.
Kurt Loder.
Yeah.
Just mentioned him earlier.
Yeah. Many believe the bespectable frontman of the alt group from Weezer, Rivers Cuomo, is indeed Kurt Cobain in disguise.
Oh, God, that's a terrible...
Because the first thing a famous rock star who is clinically depressed does after freeing himself from the shackles of celebrity is to start the whole rise to fame process all over again.
Yeah, no, that's ridiculous.
So, anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. We're going to take a little break, and Big John's going to come back and lay it down.
All right.
And that's how the feather got in my butt.
All right, so my story today, it's something I know we've talked about this before a little bit about how you'd heard of this rumor too with Stevie Nicks.
Oh yeah.
I had not heard of it when I first came across it, but while I was researching it, I was amazed at how many different blog posts or forum posts there were discussing this particular subject. And I think part of it comes from just the fact that it's well known Stevie Nicks had a bit of a penchant for the nose candy.
You say it ain't so.
And by her own admission as well, which I'll get to later. Given that we've come across some truly ridiculous stories to find out that they were true, I figured this was definitely worth a look. You know?
Right.
I mean, you never know what's going to happen.
It's not like it's the first time we'll ever be shocked about it.
Exactly. So the story doesn't usually deviate too much from a pretty standard kind of timeline. Stevie was admittedly using Scarface-sized amounts of blow.
Epic amount.
Yeah. And as coke is prone to doing, she developed a decent-sized perforation in her septum. And just like Michelle Pfeiffer's character in Scarface, she had an overwhelming need to do more. So the story goes that she supposedly chose some roadie with a dubious level of luck to do the deed for her. Gave him a straw, some coke, and a backstage pass, so to speak.
See what you did there? All access.
So, but obviously that sounds pretty crazy. So it seems like a lot of effort to go through for somebody to do cocaine.
That's a lot. That's a high level of dedication.
No
right there,
doubt. So when looking as to whether this was true or not, one of the questions that crossed my mind was, would this actually work? So always being one to be glad to do my due diligence for the podcast, I did a little bit of research on this, and that is to say I trawled some drug forums looking for others' accounts of using this, because I certainly wasn't about to do it myself, that's for sure.
Talk about not having a level of commitment.
No.
Do it for the art, man. It's for science.
Sorry, guys, I'm not doing that one. But it turns out, according to people, strangers on the internet, which is always a slightly questionable source, it supposedly can indeed be done. Some people were saying that supposedly the lining of the colon is more absorbent than the nasal passages, so it may give a different type of high or whatever. But the clear takeaway was that it can be done, because an author for Vice actually detailed his experience with trying it. First, he tried using a tampon applicator and having a girl blow it into his bum.
Right.
And she instead ended up with a lot of it in her mouth. He also tried injecting it with a child syringe, mixing it with water. He tried a few other methods that I maybe won't mention.
It's low standards even on our podcast.
You guys can look that one up yourself if you're interested in it. But regardless of the bioavailability of blow up the butt, is the rumor about Ms. Nicks true? If we are to believe her own words, and given that she's been pretty open about many other subjects, I see no reason to doubt her.
Right.
It looks like the answer would be no. Her exact quote on the subject is, I heard that too, but of course that never ever happened. That's an absurd statement. It's not true. Maybe that nasty rumor came from the fact that people knew I had such a big hole in my nose, which of course didn't stop me from doing cocaine one little bit. The hole in my nose is this big, and here she turns and draws, like on the side of her nose, about the size of a dime almost. I have very delicate tissue, so it ate away my nose. It's painful. I curse the day I ever did cocaine. Nothing really works right in my head now. I think we have to look no further than Charlie Sheen or Kanye West to confirm that last part is probably true.
So, okay, so if she did have that hole in her septum, would that grow back?
No, that does not
Not even
grow
skin?
back. No. It's just an opening now.
And it stays that way till the day she dies?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can surgically have it repaired.
Oh, sure.
Maybe,
but it's not going to go back naturally.
No, very much no.
Well, the reason I ask is because I've had acquaintances in the past that they noticed that there was a thinning, or there was actually like a small hole, maybe the size of the head of a pin, and they just stopped outright, like holy shit, look what this is doing.
Well, that's what most people
and
would
it
do.
grew back. Not the cartilage, but the skin grew back.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, so
but we're only talking about the head of a pin.
Gotcha.
So maybe like the size of like a piercing, maybe.
Gotcha. Man, I don't know. I've never looked into that.
I mean, it's never been even the
all.
size of like the people that I've known. It's never been even like the size of the hole in like a straw.
Oh, okay.
So
maybe in the smaller ones, maybe it can. I don't know, man. I can't say I've ever needed to look that up, so
right.
You never given me a reason to look into it.
Now, I'll tell you that there was a group that I worked for at one time that will remain nameless on this podcast, that they had a love for street level pharmaceuticals.
Like cocaine, man.
Yeah, they liquefied it and soaked a tampon in it and then put it in there.
I've heard of people doing that, and I saw that mentioned.
Which is
in a couple
really
places.
dangerous. I've heard,
Yeah.
and I don't mean that sarcastically, like nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Like
No.
I've heard people that are more educated in this stuff than I am, that's really dangerous
Yes.
because you could liquefy, like, pardon the pun, but a metric ass load of,
Yeah.
of cocaine into
Yeah.
a tampon. They're made to absorb stuff. So I think you could possibly OD on that.
Yeah, I've known some people who, some girls who used to soak tampons in vodka.
Yeah.
And use them.
Coffee too.
Oh, gotcha. Now that
Yeah.
I'd never heard of, but that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And what you run the risk of with vodka any alcohol, period, being absorbed that way, is you can quickly overdose on it. I mean, alcohol poisoning is very common in those cases just because you don't have your stomach saying, like, nope, too much in here, got to get it back out, and vomiting. Right. So things like that, it's very dangerous for that very reason.
So I guess the end result is you think it was false?
Oh yeah. I believe her. I have no reason to not believe her. I mean, she's been very open about things about her relationship with Lindsey Buckingham and things
she's
that happen
hot. Why
behind
wouldn't you believe it? I would.
Things that happen behind the scenes with Fleetwood Mac and whatnot. So I don't see any reason why she would have lied about it.
I think all of them. Boy, I used to have it bad for Christine McVie.
Oh yeah.
Man, whenever what's that one song that she had? Whenever they broke off, her and her husband did the. Was it? No. Hell, I can't remember. But anyway, she wore that big Southern Baptist hat. Ooh, Lord, she's out on a farm singing somewhere with some long lost piano found by a barn or something like that.
Gotcha.
Man, that woman messed me up. So you all done with that?
Yeah, not much to it. I mean, that one's pretty short, pretty cut and dried.
All right, so we got a couple of listener mails, and I wanted to get to it. You want yours first or mine first?
You can go and do yours first if you want,
okay.
Or whichever one. I don't care.
So mine is from Lindsay in Everett, Washington. Is actually a kind of like a friend of a friend.
Okay.
And got a hold of me on my personal Facebook again, folks.
Oh, hey, no big deal.
We pay such good money for all this website and all. Hook a couple of brothers up.
I don't mind. I mean, it's convenient for people.
Yeah, I wrecked them. I wrecked him. Damn near killed him. So, Randy, I hear I hear you say that you rarely have a problem with an artist. It's usually the entourage. Can you give me an example of when this happened to you?
Oh yeah, I would love to hear it.
So, I would answer the question with something that hit me more personally, but it's not going to be as big a deal. Everybody always wants the big answers, and so. Probably the biggest one that it wasn't the biggest problem for me because I never was actually involved with it. I was more like on the sidelines watching it, watching the dumpster fire. But for me, it was the short time I drove. His entourage was very cool. I think that they kind of treated him like a dick.
Really?
Yeah, he was out of everybody that I met that night. He was by far the coolest one. And I'm not going to say that because I put him on a pedestal or anything else, but literally every person that I met during that whole interaction was a jerk except for him.
Really?
Yeah. He's his entourage was, I mean, they were typical entourage, for big names like that, and you expect a particular level of, douchiness,
Right.
So, his younger half brother though is a dick.
Really?
And his name is
okay.
And he either goes by or there's I forgot.
Should we name names?
Huh?
Should we name names?
Well, here's the problem.
Okay.
So is humble and gracious and a shy guy who really does shy away from like celebrity, and he doesn't sling it around or use it to get anything.
Right.
I mean, the words out of his mouth. What? That's another episode I was actually thinking about doing. And I'm paraphrasing, but the conversation that I had with him was, I have enough money, I can buy anything that I want. Why am I going to throw my celebrity around, act like an asshole?
Yeah, hey, I mean, that's a good way to look at it. Honestly.
Yeah, why am I going to try and get a free room?
Exactly.
Oh, great, it's a couple $100 a night. Woo!
Yeah.
So anyway, That's what he goes by. It's his rapper name. And he is probably, now again, I'm standing on the sidelines watching this dumpster fire of a thing happening, but he is a stereotypical example of what you would think a half brother of would be like.
Okay.
You know, he uses his relationship with to get anything he wants for free. He doesn't want to pay for shit. Of course, he ain't got a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. But
gotcha.
I mean, he gets, you know, he has everything he wants in life,
right?
You know, and obviously he's a grown ass man now. But like, there was a long time ago that he that got custody of him.
Okay.
And he raised him. Now on a particular level, and this is just my own personal opinion, take it for what it's worth.
Yeah.
But on my own particular level, my own particular opinion on that level, I think that's inexcusable enough to be being a douchebag to get free stuff and, you know, free meals and stuff like that. But to use that to get in the britches of females,
and that's
that's what bugs me.
That's pathetic.
That's not, and he is not nice to anybody except for so
gotcha.
Now I've physically seen with my own eyes where he's yelled at backstage security. They didn't allow him backstage because, I mean, the average human being that doesn't know anything about other than his music,
right?
And which is, you know, bodyguards and security guys are, you know, we're normal people too,
right?
I mean,
exactly.
You know, just because, you know, I've been around some people that are relatively popular doesn't mean I know everything about their career.
No, and if somebody needs to be let backstage, then whoever's organizing, the manager,
right.
whoever should have told you guys, hey, this man is supposed to be let backstage.
Well, and a lot of times that happens.
Okay.
And that's what I was getting at is the you know, obviously somebody like him, he's going to have, you know, all access.
I sure hope so, man.
But whenever you're such an ass that you don't want to carry around your, I mean, how many times have you been to a concert and somebody's got any kind of pass, all access or partial or whatever, and they're bragging about it, like they're showing it off like that's a trophy, like look how important I am, I got this all access. Okay, well then you got a guy like that comes along and he's so good that he doesn't even want to wear it because he wants to be able to go in and they should be recognizing him by his face.
Man, if I like when we went to a concert 2 weeks ago, like if we went to the bathroom, I was like, "Here's your ticket," just in case somebody stops and asks you for it.
You know why? Because that's what normal people do. You know, but
I have to agree with you on that.
Yeah.
So they're, you know, they in his mind, in his little world, you know, these security guys are just supposed to know him, by his face, you know, like he's going to walk back. Oh shit, it's Elvis. Of course we're going to let him in. You know, whatever.
Show some identification, dude.
Yeah. Give me something.
Agree.
Give me something, you know.
I agree with that.
And but like I said, you know, guys are, I mean, the guys that I'm talking about are the lower level security guys that are doing controlled entry going backstage, or they're in front of the stage, or whatever the case may be. You know, these aren't even bodyguards. This is like usually like uniform security.
Okay.
So, you know, these guys, they're not making a whole lot of money. They may or may not do that for the rest of their life as an occupation. But like, that's where I started out. That's where Rod started out. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's where we was whenever we met each other 20 some odd years ago, you know? So, you know, we start out like that. What?
Old man together.
We're lucky to be this old, trust me. But if I've had situations like that happen to me, you know, and I could go into that, but it's not pleasant, and you run into so many ego issues.
Oh yeah,
you know, whenever you do stuff like that it's just, you got to have such a thick skin, you know. Somebody, but he is a perfect candidate for like electroshock therapy or tasing, you know, something like that. But anyway, I could go on, but you know, it didn't affect me in my life or me in my job. I physically watched this from the sidelines, and I saw the look on his face whenever it happened, and you could tell that he's not happy with it.
No,
you know?
Gotcha.
But I tell you what, he wouldn't say shit about him if he had a mouthful, because that's his half brother, you know.
Yeah.
And he's just, I look at him as like an honorable guy. So, of course, I've never had to work with him. He's never locked me in a room and say, okay, fat ass, you don't have anybody else around, write a couple of rhymes, So anyway, the next one we got is from Eric Fuller in Charlotte, North Carolina. John, I really enjoy your outlook and taste in music. I feel we have the same taste, but I suffer from a chronic case of no talent. So this is somebody from my neck of the woods, geographically and talent-wise. What in your time as a performing musician is the shittiest venue you've ever played? Ooh. Thanks for the podcast. Always be a legend, Eric.
Oh, this is a good one. Let me think here. There was this one really shitty bar in Peru that we used to play at.
Just to be clear, Peru, Indiana.
Peru, Indiana. Sorry, yeah. Yes, Peru, Indiana.
You don't go on no international.
No. And we were just set up on this tiny little wedge right next to the entry. So the first thing people would do as soon as they walk in is walk past me screaming in their face. And
this punk music, I'm guessing.
We were, I don't know what to describe that band. That band was strange. But it was fun.
How weird. You want a strange band. Who would have thought it?
But yeah, that was a really shitty venue, but we went there because they gave us free drinks. So we're like, okay, cool. We're going to bring our friends back here. And so another band came with us to play the next show there. Uh-huh. And so, they got the same deal. Drinks are free. Bad idea. Bad idea for the bar. My friends were just thrashed because they were just dirty punks.
Sure. Shitty bar.
Oh, yeah. So the next time we played there, they're like, okay, limit of 2 drinks per band member. Right. But that was a fun one. I'm trying to think. We played in a barn at like a 4-H fairgrounds.
Stop it.
One time. Same band. That was another shitty one. Let me think. Actually, one of the better ones I played one time was the basement of a church, and I'm just like, that was with the hardcore punk band that I was singing for. Well, doing vocals for, and
I'm glad you
singing might be a stretch for that one. And so it was just ironic because I had a couple of lyrics that were not best for a church setting.
Oh, wow.
But I mean, it was in the basement of a church, and it was not at a church service or anything like
right.
that,
like it was rented out.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was actually a really fun venue to play because there were just these steps on both sides that led up to the stage. I don't know, it was a good. What are you gonna say, Rod?
I was gonna say, so you played at a church.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, when I first started doing anything, I sang with my dad in church when I was like 4 or 5 years old.
This brother's played bluegrass.
Yeah, then ended up playing
gospel
in a bluegrass band for a couple of years, playing bass from I think it was a time I was 9 to maybe the time I was 10. It was only like a year or so.
What's your favorite gospel song?
I don't.
The last one.
I have one. Yeah.
The last one before you go.
I mean, I wasn't exactly playing it, of my own choice.
So you've never been like playing it and then kind of feeling the spirit come over you? Or
no.
Like that?
If you're talking about vodka, maybe.
I can safely say that I've had the same feeling playing secular music as I ever got playing
gospel.
Anything
right.
else.
I can see that.
So I'm not bashing anybody's religion or anything like that.
My biggest question is, what song spiritually touches you the most that you play?
Oh, like just period? Man, that's a tough one. Ooh. I have a fun time playing. There's a song by Minus the Bear called Cold Company. And I do enjoy playing that one just because it's this very trance-like tapping pattern. And I enjoy that. And I see the fretboard in kind of like geometrical shapes as far as like patterns for notes and stuff like that. So I've had...
We all think he's on the spectrum somewhere.
I've had kinesthesia like that since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like literally, I didn't know that was the name for it until I read it in Popular Science like 10 years later. But I would like see. Oh, does he do that too?
Yeah.
Does he have that too? Yeah, I can remember
when I would have a hot wife. So I can see the connection.
I do indeed. Yeah, like when I was trying to remember chord changes, a lot of times I would have like these visual cues that would pop up. And I was like 9 years old, and I'm telling my dad this, like, yeah, when we play a G, this little symbol pops up in front of my eyes. And he's like, okay, yeah, whatever. Like,
Go back and play with your invisible friend.
That's
now.
confusing to anyone who would have heard that. So
Sure.
I'm not talking shit about my dad there at all. I'm just saying, like, how do you respond to that? Oh, it's just a kid with an overactive imagination. But I would actually see these things.
Wow, that's cool.
So, yeah. Yeah.
All right, man. Let's go ahead and bring this home. Before we close
Sorry
it out,
for the ramble there.
No, that's cool. At least you weren't speaking in tongues. So, the last thing I wanted to throw in is the first thing I wanted to throw in, and that's that November 1st we'll be having everything ready for the raffle of the guitar that Vince Gill was nice enough to provide for us, and that was provided by my buddy Jimmy Miles.
And again, a phenomenal artist. I love Vince Gill. That is a country artist I like a lot who has done some gospel work.
Yeah, and he is. I mean, he earned it. I mean,
that guy's an amazing musician.
He's underappreciated in a lot of things, but you know,
it's easy to overlook Christian artists sometimes because of it being, you know, religious music. But I mean, there's some phenomenal musicians like Ricky Skaggs.
Oh,
that dude
yeah.
can play.
Well, you know, and I really think there again, you know, just like assholes, you know, everybody got one, but I really think that like Ricky Skaggs and Vince Gill, you know, they're so humble that you know they're not looking for that.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, I think between those two, they got most of the money in Nashville right now anyway, so you know they could buy everything that they want. Why you want to market yourself? But I mean, you're heading up the Eagles, bro.
Yeah. Something interesting I'd like to throw in about playing religious music. Ironically, in my opinion, probably the two best songs I ever wrote as far as writing guitar parts for were actually a couple of songs I wrote with my dad. And one of them I realized after I wrote it, you were talking about lifting melodies like Kurt Cobain did. I realized that I had kind of used a Queens of the Stone Age song as inspiration for that. The core, a particular technique that was used in one of their songs. But it was, that's always been interesting to me, the fact that one of my favorite songs I ever wrote was actually with my dad and a gospel song, strangely enough. So
that's fun.
I didn't write the lyrics, it was just the music.
Right. That's all right, man. Label ain't mad at you, man. All right, brother, let's bring it home.
All right, guys. As always, if you have any urban myths or legends you would like for us to research and talk about on the podcast, you can reach out to us on Facebook. You can find us at Tall Tales and Music Mythology, or on Twitter at T2M2 Podcasts, or you can email us at hosts, HOSTS, at T2M2.org.
And you can always get a hold of me on the home on the web at thesmartsproject.com. And our complaint department is open 24/7 at randy@thesmartsproject.com. Now more than ever, be kind to each other. Tell your kids you love them each and every day. Never be a myth.
Always be a legend.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.